Hello and welcome. My name is Rodney Hakim, and I am excited to invite you all to join us for this deep dive discussion on the New York Shakespeare social media. We are here today with McKinley Belcher III of the Red Bull Theater Company and their fantastic production of Titus Andronicus, which is playing right now and has been extended through May 3rd. It's a must see. You have to go down and catch it. It is a great production. The Red Bull Theater have been around for 20 plus years, and they've been presenting Shakespeare and the classics at a very high level throughout those years. And this is definitely one of their top tier productions. So we are very excited to have McKinley join us. For those who are new to the New York Shakespeare social media, what we are about is trying to bring as much Shakespeare content to you as we can that is happening in and around New York, and that's all through social media. And that's whether it's a stage production, it's a film screening, it's a book release, a podcast, a blog, whatever it is, as long as it's Shakespeare and it's based in or around New York, we try to bring that content to you on Instagram, Facebook, and across social media with exclusive interviews and content. So stay tuned, connect with us, like us, whatever the verb is for your respective social media, do that verb and connect with us for all the content. So again, we're happy to be here today with McKinley Belcher III. McKinley, you are playing Aaron the Moor in this fantastic production Titus Andronicus. Again, it is running through May 3rd. It is directed by the fantastic Jesse Berger, who has been at the helm of Red Bull Theater since its inception. McKinley, this show, you're in very good company. You have some wonderful people they are performing with. Of course, we have Patrick Page in the titular role as Titus Andronicus, but you've got some other really, really wonderful people that you're working with. You are working with Matthew Ament as Saturninus, who is just fantastic. Francesca Faridene, if I said that correctly, as Tamara of the Goths, and of course yourself as Aaron. I think you guys are the core of the main antagonists, shall we say, of the feuding families.
Sure.
What has it been like to get into this production, McKinley? And before this, you've been doing a lot of Shakespeare, a lot of the classics all around. Before this, you were Coriolanus last season with the Theater for a New Audience, which itself was a really, really solid production. So going from that to this, what is the experience of getting into the Red Bull Theater like for you?
Yeah, I want to say thank you for having me. Um,
Certainly.
and it's been a unique season for me because I sort of get Coriolanus and Titus overlapping. Like while I was performing Coriolanus, I was rehearsing Titus. And Aaron has been on my list of to-dos for a very long time. I remember I went to grad school for acting at USC in LA, and I remember and I think it was in a movement class, they'd asked us to select a monologue or a short scene from a play, and I selected a scene from Titus without having read Titus in full. I just selected something randomly that I was like flipping, and then something caught my eye, and the character was Aaron with Lucius. And so I did it almost by accident, or maybe it wasn't by accident. But since I started working on that scene in that class, and then I started learning more about the play and actually read the play, it's been on my list. I think there are very few roles that are written for someone that looks like me in Shakespeare. Uh, and I mean, even in that time, it would have been with someone who was like putting makeup on to look like me. But the
Right.
character is exploring terrain that is full of what this life would have been at that time. And it's really exciting to me that Aaron is in a world that constantly tells him he should not have agency, he should not have power. He should be and slot into what the world around him tells him he should be. And his constant sort of forward is to define it for himself, to be himself, to survive on his own terms, and to not slot into the matrix that the world constantly tells him he should. And that's an exciting person to live inside of for 2.5 hours.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it. And you mentioned that you went through a monologue book and you happened to come upon Aaron. Uh, for me, I've been around Shakespeare for a long time. I'm sure you have as well.
Mhm.
But something that I've observed is that Titus Andronicus whenever people talk about the Shakespeare plays, of course, everyone knows the Hamlet and the Macbeth and
Yeah.
King Lear and Othello and some of the more commonly done shows. Whereas Titus Andronicus, people kind of think of it as, oh, that's one of the early works, and it's a lesser work, and they always have disparaging things to say about it. But
Yeah.
in this staging of it, I've seen a lot of different productions of it. Of course, there's the film version of it with Anthony Hopkins,
Mhm.
which is a fantastic version of Titus Andronicus. But
Ironically, that version was based on a production at Theater for New Orleans where I did Coriolanus.
oh, get out of here!
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that's such a great
Yeah,
tidbit.
so Julie
Uh,
Taymor produced the play itself with Theater for New Audience, and then they made a film version of it after the production.
that's great. I missed that staging of it from
Oh,
which the film was based, and the point I was driving to was that I've seen a lot of staged versions of it, but they're always a little bit, hit or miss, and sometimes it's a little bit more of this, and sometimes it's a little bit more of that. But I've never really seen a staged version that for me was something that really gave me the satisfaction of saying, "Hey, this Titus is a really, really solid play that should be up there with the King Lear and the Othello
mm.
and the everything else." And this time, the staging that you guys are doing right now, I think was is so spectacular that I think for me it vaulted Titus Andronicus right up to the upper echelon of Shakespeare plays. So a big kudos to you guys
Oh, thank you for
for
that.
for taking the a production that people might in for whatever reason think of as a lesser done work or a lesser work in whatever lesser way they think, and putting it right up there with some of the best. So what has the experience been like of working with Jesse and Patrick and some of the others that you're involved with this in production?
Yes, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Um, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me is that, like, because this is a sort of younger version of Shakespeare, who is dealing with the sort of style and expectations of the time, it is a sort of plucky version of what he would have written. It is a young, violent, and visceral experience of Rome. And I think it's important that when you come to a production of this play, that there's a balancing act that has to happen. I think anytime you do Shakespeare, there has to be clarity of thought and of word. The audience needs to understand what you're saying. But with this play, they also need to feel like they're on the razor's edge of anything being possible in terms of violence, anything being possible in terms of who might die or who might be in danger. I think the danger has to be very present. And then there's also a kind of like camp and comedic thing that's happening in concert with the violence that we have to sort of like vacillate between and sort of find the balance of. It harks back to some sort of like Quentin Tarantino films where the violence is very real, but somehow there's an element of entertainment in it as well. I should say that Jesse and Patrick Page worked on the cut of this play significantly for I think for the last 4 or 5 years, and they've done I think 2 readings that I was not involved with the readings, just sort of just to get the temperature right, to get the cut of the play right. There was some reordering of a couple scenes and some snipping here and there, just for clarity, so that it's a story that one can follow, and also to follow the emotional journey that Titus is going on and that Tamara, that Francesca Ferrandani is playing. Um, and I think another thing that makes it a really exciting thing to be involved with is to have a Titus who has the pedigree, the experience, the voice, and the gravitas to hold the center of the play. I think the play really does fall apart if you don't have somebody at the center who can really hold it. And I think Patrick does a great job of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. He's fantastic, and I've been following Patrick's career for forever since he was the Green Goblin in Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark and everything else. So I've been following him for a long time. He's one of the best in New York. So it's wonderful to have him anchoring this production. But you hold your own. You're a fantastic Aaron the Moor, and something that for me that was striking to me is that one of the criticisms of Titus is that you mentioned it's an early work. He was maybe an immature, or it was coming off of a time when the revenge tragedy was the
Hmm.
norm, or the popular format that people
Yeah.
were making. So in some ways, it's comparable to some other plays, the Spanish tragedy, and some of the others from some of Shakespeare's early contemporaries, where the villains are a little bit more two-dimensional.
Yeah.
And one of the raps that Aaron the Moor sometimes gets is that, oh, he's one of Shakespeare's early villains, and he's still more two-dimensional as opposed to one of Shakespeare's, shall we say, more mature works from maybe a decade or so later, like Othello, where Othello has more dimensionality. So for
Yeah.
me, something that was really impressive to me in this production was all the dimension that you, as a performer, bring to Aaron, and some of the challenges that your dimensionality creates, because you where instead of being the stock villain and the two-dimensional evil guy, there's a lot of pathos in the way you perform it, and there's almost like an anti-hero quality that you bring to it, you almost
Mm.
start rooting for Aaron as opposed to just wanting to vilify him. So how has the process been for you of getting inside Aaron's head?
I mean, I think, I mean, that's a really interesting inquiry to dig into. Um, I think from the jump, it was really important to me that I not play a stock villain and that I not just be twirling the mustache and doing all the bad things. That I understand why he's doing that. And I want to be clear. I do think he's like an agent of chaos inside the play. I think that is true, and he has very specific reasons why he does what he does, how he does what he does, and why he's in that frame of mind. Um, uh, I think it very early in the process, the conversations between me and Jesse were talking about like how did he end up in the world of the Goths and then conquered by the Romans, and in that sort of just taking that as information, it would lead one to believe that he's likely twice conquered.
Hmm.
And I think this play is very much dealing with like the cycles of violence, the cycles of colonialism, the cycles of death and revenge. And I think he is very much a part of that cycle. I think uh, I always forget the quote, but I think it's in Merchant of Venice, where Shylock is saying something to the effect of, um, uh, something like you will teach me the thing, but I will better the instruction. Like
Right.
through all the things that you'll do, you'll show me what your framework is, what your paradigm is. But I'm gonna learn that paradigm, and then I'm gonna better it
Right.
and show you what I can really do it. I'm gonna wield it as a weapon, and I think that's what Aaron is doing. I think uh, uh, he sees all the reasons that the Romans say they do things and how they parade them as something noble, but inside are all very sort of selfish, self-driving, and self-motivated things. And he chooses to be able to pursue those things, unclouded by a mask of nobleness, but saying, "I'm doing this for myself." So I think he's very good at surviving. Um, I think I think he has found something real with Tamara, even if it was born out of usury to begin with. But over the course of the play, a baby gets introduced. And I think that baby is paradigm shifting for him and is an introduction of something that he has yet to experience in life, and that is true love. To put someone or something before yourself, to have like you are no longer the sun in the center of your universe. And I think that changes the way he navigates the play as soon as the baby is introduced. It's the first time that he does anything against Tamara. It's the first time that Tamara and the boys, that they're not all on the same side. It's the first time that we're not aligned in the way, and then they're vulnerable once I'm no longer covering their backs. But I think up until that point, he is very good at walking into a room and knowing and understanding the mechanics of how the things work and knowing how to slot in and use each machine to his advantage.
Absolutely. And I was going to get to the baby, because that for me that is the pivotal thing, where for you your interpretation of Aaron really shows that tenderness and that anti-hero quality, where and the audience gets invested into Aaron in some way as someone they can sympathize with, as opposed to only feel as a villain, because that once that baby is introduced, the all the villainy and all the instructing the sons to murder and pillage and everything else, suddenly that all turns into protection and
Yeah.
nurture, and it's a really big 180 for Aaron, and even to the point where he's willing to sacrifice himself and let himself be hanged as long as the baby is saved. And so I think that's, and of course the dialogue of that, sure, it's in the text, but the way that you deliver that dialogue and the way you perform that and the gravitas that you bring to that, I think it's a really wonderful moment in the show.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I wanted to say something about like you were sort of comparing it to Othello. And it's interesting because there is much about Aaron. I mean, obviously they're both characterized as Moors, which is a sort of blanket term that people were using just for dark complected people. But I actually think Aaron has way more in common with Iago than he does with Othello. I think Othello is actually on the receiving end of so much of what is happening in that play. And Iago is the engine that is the creation of, that is like sort of the, arranging the machinations that swing and go. And I think that's the sort of function and the power that Aaron has in this play. And then to me, it I get really excited when I see a play and I make a snap judgment about who someone is, and the actor or the play or the production changes my mind over the course of the production. And so that was really interesting to me to present, to highlight someone who was very comfortable being vicious and direct about being hostile and violent, and then have that same man sort of melt into his own kind of nobleness and like really loving fatherhood, and both of those things being able to coexist at the same time.
Absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing, is where there is that those feelings that are contradictory and they're playing against each other, and you have to try to find a way to navigate those conflicting emotions.
Yeah,
So I
and that's
think
fun. Yeah.
that's great, and that's a great connection between the villain of Aaron the Moor versus Iago, more so than Othello, even though they're both the Moor characters. Where there's, I think, maybe in some ways Aaron is predecessor, an early predecessor of some combination of Iago and Othello.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
So something that and you mentioned the dominance and things, that something, one of the power dynamics that jumped out to me in this Red Bull production of Titus Andronicus is that there's a lot of S&M imagery in the show.
Mhm.
There's the Saturninus at one point volunteers to get a whipping,
Mhm.
and when uh, Tamara of the Goths and the two sons, when they come in to torment Titus towards the end, they come in wearing some version of S&M gear.
Mhm.
And it seems to me like I don't know if this was a conscious decision of Jesse's. I'd love to ask him, but it seems like there's a lot of playing into the idea of power and dominance. And one of the moments that for me was really, and it didn't have to do with costumes so much, but it was doing more of an action thing, was when Saturninus asks the sister, formerly a brother, now the sister of Titus, to
Mhm.
bend down and drink water from a bowl like a dog would.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of dominance and submission. Did you feel those dynamics in the rehearsal? Is that something that you guys teased out with each other along the way?
I mean, yes, I did feel that. I do feel like that set play from Jesse, and I think that's also what so many actors in the room, including Matthew, who was playing Saturninus, um, was looking for with a sort of insatiable appetite for how many places can we find where we can exploit, highlight, and use the gradient of power. Um, there's so much about Rome and the Goths where it is about domination and um, violence as a form of foreplay. Yeah, and there's something that I wanted to say that is related to like the Moor. There's something really important to me about not shying away from all of the references of Black and Moorish this and that, and the ways that Black or brown people are seen throughout the play. To me, it was very important for us to not erase any of those things, to lean into those things because they give a sort of idea of the mindset of the world. And to me, all the things that you're talking about are sort of visual and sort of physical representations of that kind of dominance. And to me, a lot of the language around Black and being a Moor and Black or brown is a verbal way of exerting dominance. And especially because when these plays were originally done, it would have been a white man painted Black or brown. It's so important to me as an actor to do this role specifically and to do eventually Othello because it feels like a reclaiming of. And then I get to do the role, and not only am I employing all of the things that are written and crafted in terms of the arc of the story, but I also get to inject the truth of what it is to be a Black or brown man walking through the world, all of the things one would carry, all of the things that you're juggling and react honestly to someone saying those things to my face and let them sort of carry me through the rest of the play. And to me, that's a really important thing to be doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And something else that occurred to me as I was watching the play is that, as we said in the beginning of this discussion,
Mhm.
there's, this aura around Titus Andronicus that, oh, it's an older play and but for me, it felt so relevant and it felt as if it was something that was ripped out of today's headlines.
Mm.
Did you guys feel that as the rehearsals were going and as the performances have been going on, that it's a mirror to what's happening in the world today?
I mean, I think that's the reason to do it. Is because I mean, ultimately, our job is to reflect. Our job is to shed a light on who we are, where we are, what it is that's happening. And unfortunately, I think doing a play about the cycles of violence, doing a play about leaders being preoccupied with dominance, doing a play where racism is covert and subversive, and then in some cases incredibly overt. Like all of that is relevant to what's happening in our country and in the world today.
I couldn't have said it better. Well, I think that's a great spot to bring the conversation to its conclusion. And McKinley, it's been a delight to chat with you and to pick your brain about some of the ins and outs of this production of Titus Andronicus. Again, folks, this is a must see. You have to see this production before it ends. It ends. It's been extended through May 3rd, so you have another week and a half, 2 weeks to see it. By all means, go and check it out. And we are going to put once this we're doing this discussion right around Shakespeare's birthday, April 23rd. This is, in a way, our little birthday present to the Shakespeare world. Happy birthday, Shakespeare, or happy
Happy
death day.
birthday.
But as an extra bonus to our New York Shakespeare audience, we're going to throw a couple of discount codes into the comments section so you can go in and catch a show at a little bit of an extra discount. So, McKinley, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we're going to make sure to share that code, and you're going to give me the skinny on that so I can pass it along to everyone else. But we'll do that after the recording ends to give us the inside track on how to see the show at the best price possible. McKinley, it is an absolute delight to talk to you. Congratulations to you and to the cast and crew on an outstanding production. And again, I'm urging the audience to come on and see it.
Love it. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, McKinley. It's been a pleasure. Congratulations. This is Rodney from the the New York Shakespeare social media. I'm tongue-tied from being so excited about the show. But by all means, go out and support the show. And of course, you can connect with us, like us, friend us, whatever, across social media at New York Shakespeare for the latest Shakespeare news and updates. Thank you. Support your local Shakespeare and support this show.